Well, I think it's time we could talk a little bit again about Canobie Lake Park back in the old days.
Excellent, excellent. Now, it seems as though Canobie Lake Park, your favorite part of Canobie Lake Park was the dance hall theater. Perhaps you could start there.
Well, back in the 50s when I worked there, it wasn't the dance hall theater. The building was substantially larger than it is today.
Okay.
The design of the stage was a little bit different than what they have now, because the big bands would take up left to right more than having runways out into the audience.
Was it considered a ballroom?
It was a ballroom. In 1940, the park owners at the time, the Holland family, put in a sound system at excess of $50,000, which was big money in those days.
Yeah.
It became one of the best sound systems in this whole area. And of course, the building was not heated.
Yeah.
It isn't today. So basically, it was a summertime facility. Which worked out good because a lot of the big bands in those days did radio shows and would be on recess during the summer, if you will, because they were doing, like one of the bands, Les Brown and his band every now.
Right.
He did Bob Hope. Well, he didn't have to do too much shows during the summer, so he came on the tours. And they loved to come up into this area because they could do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night concerts in different places. And Friday night was Canobie Lake Park's night.
And you wanted to go into more detail as to some of the people that were there, or give a flavor for what it was like at that time?
Sure. There were two different nights. Friday night, the big bands, the name bands. Saturday night was the regional bands. Ted Herbert from Manchester. Had a great band. They come. Freddie Salvatore, all those kinds of bands. They'd get anywhere from 800 to 1,300 people on a Saturday night to listen to them. Friday nights, depending on the band, you get up to 5,000.
Yeah.
The biggest band in the 50s, in the early part of the 50s, actually, now remember, you have the park is still the dirt sidewalks and all that, but everything would pour down towards there. You had the dance hall, you had a restaurant, and you had the boathouse. Which are still there. During the band breaks and things like that, people could dash out, take a ride, do this. But the biggest band every year, in terms of people showing up, was Guy Lombardo and his Royal Canadians.
Oh, wow, yes, right. Now, there's a lot of young kids that don't remember them, but I was born in the 50s, so he was pretty famous. He was before Dick Clark was.
Way before Dick Clark. He was New Year's Eve. That's right. He was on network radio and counted down to midnight. So the people, let's put it this way. When he and his band and his Royal Canadians were there, most of the people there had the same color hair that I have now. And they didn't go out on the rides. They were there to listen to Guy Lombardo. And dance. And he was great. And he had a good-sized band. You're talking a whole different time.
For sure.
9:30, 10 o'clock at night, your TV was a test pattern.
That's true, too. Well, that's another thing we could talk about sometime. The technology has changed significantly.
It was completely different. And the bands were different styles. One of the bands we really enjoyed was Les Brown and his Band of Renown.
That's another famous one.
He came out and his different sections had different colored jackets. So he was really colorful. The trombones, the brass was this, the percussions were this, and the singers were good. But they would pull in at 8 o'clock in the morning. And they would play softball.
Oh, is that right?
They would play
great.
softball.
That's good.
And after the games were over, that Morris would asked me to take them over to the swimming pool and get them in. And then they could go back to their buses, or depending on the weather, go out in the shady trees and nap until it was time to do
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you wouldn't see that with the...
You wouldn't even think about it.
Right, exactly.
And of course, those
They're
bands...
on a schedule so much that they couldn't
You would
do
never
that,
get those bands after September because, one, the way things worked, but if they were doing a tour, they would never come up here unheeded, all of those things. They'd be in Boston at the closed-in theaters.
Right.
Not up there. But they were big crowds. And you saw a lot of top-notch singers with the bands that you didn't know then were top-notch, or if you did hear them, not what they really... back in the 40s, for example, Sinatra was a big hit.
Yes, right.
Played with the bands that came here.
Yeah, right. But a lot of the bands that you mentioned, I remember seeing them in the 60s at Topsfield Fair or any of those venues or whatever.
Exactly.
They were still very popular.
Sure. I'll give you a quick rundown, just kind of people. Sure. I even brought some pictures. We may get into the thing.
Sure. So talk a little bit about Vaughn Monroe.
Well, if you'll notice from his picture, and a lot of them did this, it's not only a picture of him, but he's smoking a Camel and he's holding a package of it. So he's getting a little money for advertising Camels at the same
interesting.
Time.
That's interesting.
Remember, the days were different. The economy was different.
Yeah.
I mean, they made good money because they were playing every night.
Yeah.
But they weren't getting what these people are getting today.
It's funny how we talk about commercialization nowadays being so bad, but I mean, they were doing it then, too.
They were doing it then. Anything to add on.
That's right.
But in the course of the summer, now remember your summer, basically, was June, July, and August.
Yeah. Okay, right, that's true.
So, depending on how the weeks fell.
Right.
14, 15 Fridays was it.
The climate was even more.
And a lot of times these people kept coming back because they played that circuit. They'd go to Salisbury Beach, they'd go to Hampton, they'd go to Fitchburg. Those kinds of
so they had a regular circuit.
But in a given summer, and I'm just going through them quickly for you. Guy Lombardo, Les Brown, Woody Herman, Count Basie, Billy May. Billy May is a funny story.
Okay.
Billy May didn't have national attention. He was starting to get publicity and that. So one day during the week, Morris Holland came to me and he said, I want you to go down to Hampton Casino and listen to this band. I got a chance to get him in a couple of weeks. And tell me what you think he'll draw here.
Yeah.
He said, I'll give you $10 to drive down and get an admission ticket and have a Coke and stuff. And that $10.
Yeah.
And have money left over. Gas was like 15 cents.
Right, exactly.
So I did. I went down and I came back and he said, what do you think he'll do? And I said, do around 1,400 people. And he said, okay, I'm going to sign him up.
Yeah, great.
About 3 weeks later, the band Billy May playing in the ballroom. 1,800 people that night. I was very happy when I went, because I didn't know he was going to take my word for it.
Great.
But he did.
So those were full houses for sure.
They made money with them.
I've seen some pictures of old Eagle Tribune of big bands and the crowds in there packed, completely packed. They were saying that they were standing room only and waiting outside the door and stuff like that.
Oh, yes. What would happen is good weather. As you walked in the front door, you'd be looking straight across the ballroom.
Yeah.
A stage would be here. The restrooms, coat rooms, soda fountain, and all that don't exist now.
Yeah.
To the left, and if you look straight out, you were looking out over Canobie Lake. Oh. They had the windows that came up with hooks and thing, and it could come down if there was
that would have been nice. Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Almost like a hut or whatever, type of thing.
Air conditioning was air.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Those days, that's right.